Don't you know? Talking about the revolution sound.
People's Assembly. Liar Liar has reached #1. The BBC have refused to play it because of impartiality during the election. I say to you, the BBC is anything but partial. We've had so much bias against a new government. We want a government for the many and not for the few. So we're here to protest. Liar Liar has reached #1. It's had loads of support, and we do have a Liar Liar as Prime Minister. On June the 8th, we need to vote for a Labour government. We need a government of Jeremy Corbyn, and it's a government for the many, not the few. And we're here just to support the People's Assembly and Liar Liar. You won't hear it on the BBC, but you'll hear it here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, hey, my name's Fairman. I'm the National Secretary of the People's Assembly. We're down here outside the BBC because they have refused to play Liar Liar despite it getting into the top 10. We're guaranteed to get into the top 10. Now this is with no financial backing from any of the music industry. I think it's a testament that says people in this country are fed up with the Tories that are just lying to them constantly. They're fed up with an NHS crisis, with the Tories cutting education, with a fall in living standards, all of these kind of things. And I think the fact that it's got into the top 10 without even being played on the radio shows you the potential that this movement has, that our movement for change has. And I also do think that we can force the radio stations to play it. And I think the Tories might have a very, very shocking result next Thursday. And that's what we're planning to do, to make sure that the Tories are kicked out on Thursday next week. And we're going to do everything we can with the song and with billboards like this all across the country.
Great stuff, Sam. Right, we've got Jake here. Jake, how do you feel about your song being banned by the BBC when you're donating the money from it to charities?
Well, the banning of the song, where the money's going from it, it's actually going to food banks, the People's Assembly, but the banning of it, I think is separate from where the money's going. The ban is obviously to do with the broadcasting rules, the election. We strongly disagree with that. We think there's no reason why they can't play it, but nevertheless, I think it's obviously it's a great shame, and the UK media need to have a big, long, hard look at themselves.
The thing is being played as we're speaking. If you want to come around here, before, we're still keeping an eye on it, but there's just one speaker which I think is very, very important to introduce before we resume the top 10. Don't worry, we've still got it in our headphones, so if it does happen to come on, then we'll know about it. But I think we've got time for a very, very quick speaker. If you guys want to head round and listen to it, please welcome from the Media Reform Coalition, who I think at this stage is very, very important to talk to you about the media bias, about these, and who has been campaigning very, very hard against the media bias for a very long time. Please welcome Justin Schulzberg. Sorry, I can't remember your name.
Thank you. As great as this campaign and initiative is, it's about a much bigger problem to do with this institution behind us. The BBC, owned by, funded by, listened to and watched by the public, has never really functioned in the interests of the public as much as it has in the interests of establishment power, whether that's the Tories, the New Labourites, the bankers, or the Murdochs. Ever since Hutton inquiry, time after time, the BBC has buckled under the slightest eyebrow that has been raised in Whitehall, in Downing Street or Fleet Street. Study after study after study has demonstrated the subtle but systematic bias in its coverage of the Labour Party since Jeremy Corbyn was first elected leader. And what is the BBC's response? Nothing but silence or dismissal. It is made clear it will not engage with any evidence of bias if it is not produced by research that the BBC itself has commissioned. That is an astonishing evasion of accountability for a so-called public broadcaster. Even when the BBC Trust upheld one of the many, many complaints submitted by viewers about its coverage of Jeremy Corbyn, what was the response of James Harding, the head of news, who sits in an office behind us and was a former Rupert Murdoch employee at the Times? Nothing but "we don't agree, case closed." It's enough to make IPSO, the self-regulatory body funded and run by the national newspapers, look like a ferocious watchdog of a regulator. Meanwhile, the BBC continues to pore over headlines of a predominantly Tory press that has become progressively more conservative since the last election and doesn't seem to grasp that every second of airtime given to reviewing these papers is tantamount to providing a megaphone for the Tory campaign in this election. Just because they read something out by The Guardian or The Mirror in amongst this torrent of propaganda does not amount to anything approaching balance or impartiality in any sense. Why doesn't it read the headlines coming from websites like The Canary or like Novara? The BBC must face up to the reality that the media landscape has changed, that the voices of billionaire press barons and multinational corporations that own our newspapers should not be given a special and unchallenged hearing every single day on its prime time and flagship programmes. And the BBC still doesn't grasp that just because the likes of Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson ludicrously accuse it of harbouring a left-wing bias, that somehow it is getting the balance right. There is, after all, one outstanding difference between critiques of the BBC emanating from the left and the right, and that is that one side of the argument is based on evidence, extensive peer-reviewed studies. This in itself reflects the BBC's buy-in to a neo-fascist discourse of the Trump UKIP Tory right. We don't need experts, they say. We don't need evidence or facts, especially if they don't support our own irrational, dangerous and misguided views and policies. This is the brave new world of politics in which we have been plunged and which makes next Thursday such a crucial and historical moment. If Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister, there is, for the first time in its history, a very real prospect that the BBC might actually become what it is supposed to be, and not the concentrated power elite that has the right-wing press at its beating heart.
Brilliant, thanks so much, and Justin.
Half 5 on Radio 1. This is the official chart with Greg James. Shawn Mendes, There's Nothing Holding Me Back, is at number 5. And at number 4, it's a new entry from Captain Scar, and it's a track called Now, we're not playing this song. Newsbeat's music reporter, Steve Holden, explains why.
Liar Liar was released last week. It's a song which is critical of the government. Radio 1 says it has not been banned, but the BBC has to follow strict guidelines before an election. And people are going to vote in the general election on Thursday next week. Those guidelines mean that all political content across all BBC radio and TV stations has to make sure that political parties are fairly represented. Liar Liar is critical of one particular party, so playing the song and its lyrical content could be seen as unfair to that one party.
A long mover, featuring Quavo, Strip That Down.
Right.
And then there was silence. There's not going to be silence. We're going to play it. Oh! Thank you so much. I'm totally and utterly overwhelmed by, number 4 in the charts. Fuck the Tories! There's a few more of us than here today. Some people are away on tour with other people, so we're going to kind of do as much of it live as we can. And this is just dedicated basically to everyone in the country who is suffering because of the Tories. Motherfuckers. Alright, let's go for it! Thank you!
We have a mission to make Britain a country that works, not for the privileged and not for the few, but for every one of our citizens. And together, we, the Conservative Party, can build a better Britain.
Yeah. She's a liar. She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. You can't trust her. No, 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 no. She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. You can't trust her. No, 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 no. She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. No, 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 no. She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. You can't trust her. No, 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 no. I'm going to have a couple of nuts. That's the kind of touches that makes her upset. I'll be from over.
Generations look back at this time. All judges will say only by the decision that we made, but by what remained of that decision. They will see that we shaped them a brighter future. They will know that we brought them a